Hello everyone, welcome back to the second video in this series of advanced topics in JavaScript. So in this video we are going to learn about a very important topic in JavaScript, that is closures. So this video will be divided into three about event queues. Then in the second part we will discuss about callbacks and how to use them, and at the end we will learn about closures. So if you want to directly skip to any of these sections, you can do, but I will recommend you to watch it from the beginning. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with the first topic in this video, that is the event queues. So you all must be knowing that JavaScript is a single threaded language. So what does it mean? It means that whatever code you write in your text editor, it will be executed line by line. So let me just quickly show you a simple example of that. If you write console.log here, this is the first statement. Sorry, and copy it and then paste it and write this is the second statement. So as you can see, the first statement was executed first and then the second statement was executed. So what does it mean? That whenever you write any code or you are invoking some functions, the, all these functions are creating a blocking code. So until and unless the first function that you have called is completely executed, then only the second function will be called and then executed. So let me just quickly show you a little sketch of that. More mind the sketch, just let's focus on the real topic here. So first of all, there's a heap. Inside the heap there's all this unallocated memory is here. So whenever you create an event, it takes some space from the heap and the event is created. So these t1, t2, t3 are the three tasks that, for example, a user has created. So they will be executed line by line. So first, if t1 is declared first, then t1 will be in the first of the event queue. This event queue will be executed by the DOM, and then t2 and then t3. This is the event queue, but the callback queue is a little different, and we will talk about it in the second chapter. So let me just quickly show you an example that the code you write is always a blocking code until and unless it's a callback. So just for example, let's create a function named waiting function, and it will take time in millisecond as an argument. So let's declare a const future time is equal to the current date. It also contains the time, the date object, and then append our argument with that. And let's create a while loop. It will run till future time is greater than the current time. Let's call this function and let's pass 5000 milliseconds, and console log here something like the function is completed. Okay, so what will happen is, on line number 5 we have called the function that we have created here and passed 5000 milliseconds to it. So after, until unless the 5 millisecond time is completed, line number 6 will not be printed. So let me just show you. Let me give a refresh. See, until unless those 5000 milliseconds are over, the console log statement didn't come up. So this explains that JavaScript is always executed synchronously, and it also confirms that JavaScript is a single-threaded language. So now let's get to the second part. So welcome back to the second section of this video. In this section, we are going to learn about callback functions. So in the first video, you already learned about that JavaScript is a synchronous language and it executes code line by line. So it can create a kind of a kind of a blocking code. So what if you don't want to create a blocking code? You want to write something non-blocking. So here comes the use of callback functions. So what is a callback function? Simply said, callback function is a function that takes another function as its argument. And the flow of callback function can be synchronous or asynchronous depending upon your needs. So let us come back to the sketch here. Event queue is executed line by line, first T1, T2, and then the T3 will be executed. All these three will be executed. So whenever you create a set timeout function, so for example, set timeout is the first line that you wrote in a program, and after that you wrote T1, T2, and T3. So first set timeout will be passed to the DOM and it will be executed. But as set timeout takes two arguments, first is a callback function and second is a time. So like you put, like let's write it down first here. Like you create a fact function. It takes two arguments. First is an anonymous function, and then we will take 3000 as a time argument, second argument. And just quickly console log here and write callback is executed. Okay. So whenever the set timeout function is created, it will create its own callback queue. Whatever is inside of set timeout callback function, it will be called synchronously like T1, T2, and then T3. And whenever you create a set timeout function, it will be always put to the end of the main event queue. That is this here. So let's just quickly refresh it. Oh, we forget to write something here. Like if you put here this statement is in the global execution context. Just quickly refresh it. See, this statement in the global context is executed first, and after a couple of seconds, we get the callback is executed console log here. Okay, so this is simply a callback function. It, whenever a callback function is created, it is always put to the end of the main event queue. So here is a simple challenge for you. What if I change this value to 0 milliseconds? So what do you think will happen right now? Will line number 2 or line number 4 will be executed first? Pause the video for 5 seconds and write down your answers in the comment sections. So I hope you give it a shot and you were right. If you were wrong, no worries. Let's refresh it and see what's the answer. The answer is exactly the same. But why is it? So earlier I told you that whenever set timeout function is created, it's always pushed to the end of the main event queue. So whenever set timeout is passed to the DOM, then this callback queue will always be attached to the end of the main event queue, and it will be executed at the end. So this is all for this section. Let's start with the last and final section of this video, that is the closure. So before we go in this challenge, you will have a chance to recollect all that we have learned in the previous two parts. So pause this video for 5 seconds and go through this challenge and write down your answers in the comment sections. Alright, I hope you got the right answer. So first, let me just quickly show you the answer. So this is the answer here. Let me just give it a refresh. So this is the answer. So if you didn't get the right answer, let me just quickly explain it to you. So we have already used this function in the first part of this video. So it is a blocking function. It will wait for 3000 milliseconds, that's 3 seconds, and after 3 seconds line number 6 will be executed first, and then line number 7 will be executed, but it is a callback function. So remember that I've told in the second part that the callback function is always and always sent to the last of our main event queue, and our main event queue contains line number 6 and line number 8 first. So it will be, the callback will be executed at the end. So we will first get function is completed, then the statement is executed in global context, then the callback is executed at the end. So let's start with closures now. So closure is created when an inner function has access to its outer function variables and arguments. So the inner function has access to its own variables, the variable of its outer function, and also the global variables. So let's start with a simple example here. Let's create a function named outer function and create a const inside of it, and create inner function, and we'll take simple num argument, and it will return a plus the number. So let's return inner function. Now let's store outer function inside of a const variable, then console log here res and pass it 20. So what will happen is now we will get 30. Let's confirm it. We get 30 here. So this shows us that the inner function has access to the variables of its outer function. But if we try here console log directly the outer function dot a, we will get undefined because it's not defined and it's not accessible in the global scope. It's only available to the inner function because it's defined in the scope of this outer function. So it kind of create a kind of a private variable for a outer function, and it's used like if you want some security and don't want the variables or functions inside of it accessible to the outer world. So let's start with a second example. We can use closure like this also, like outer function. So if you want to multiply something and create a constant gain, an inner function will also take another argument. Now we will return here a plus num, and then use our multiplication, okay, and then return inner function. Now let's do the same thing, but now here we will pass our first argument to the outer function, and we will simply log here res and pass it our second argument. So you can use closures as this also. We will get our desired answer here, 3000 multiplied by 100, 10 plus 2 20 30, and then multiply by 100. So let's give another example. Suppose you don't want to provide all the arguments in a single shot, so you can use this also, like customer name is equal to our channel's name, and inside of it there is a function. Let's type greeting message and then it will not take any argument, and console log here hi customer name, or then just simply return greeting message from here. You can use call greet customer and pass it greet, oh, let's put it like this, greet customer, and greet customer like this. Then you can use it also like this. See, you will get function. We have some issue here. Open function. Oh. Okay. Hi JS loop. We didn't get any space because of this. Hi JS loop. So this, see, it's a great example. Like you don't want to have you don't want user or any other functions to have access to the private variables of greet customer, but the inner function always has all the access of any private variables that you define here. So that's all for this video, guys. If you like this video, leave a like. If you have any doubt, let me know in the comment section. And if you want to like learn a specific topic in JavaScript, except something like very easy, then you can also write in the comment section below. Thank you. This is Rohit signing off.